When it comes to leadership in automobiles and aviation, Northeast Ohio deserves a AA rating. We have a great history in setting the world in motion, which is also the name of a new exhibit at the Western Reserve Historical Society. And here to drive this point home is the curator of transportation, Mr. N. Derek Moore. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, not a problem. Glad to be here.
Thanks for being here. So, Derek, tell us about this exhibit. What are we going to see?
Well, what you're going to see is, of course, as you mentioned, entitled Setting the World in Motion. And we take a look at the way that Cleveland and Northeast Ohio really, held a great, beginnings in the transportation industry of auto and aviation and really helped to kind of bring that to the world.
Great. So, I've been to the Crawford. Many of our viewers have been to Crawford a number of times. You go down the stairs, you see the autos and the airplanes and all that. This is different, though, right?
This is much different. We aim to really, put together a comprehensive exhibit, and that's very contextual, tells a story, starting with, some of the great entrepreneurs that were in this area, like John D. Rockefeller, Alexander Winton, Fred Crawford, and then tell the story of the auto industry that was here, the national air races, and then some of the early aviation technology that was coming out of this area.
So give us a story or two. Tell us about the Peerless Company, for example. What role that played in Cleveland?
Yeah, the Peerless Company, it's a great company, and what we wanted to do with the exhibit is not only look at, just the automobiles that they produced. We wanted to look at the company as a whole, from beginning to end. And they have a great story, probably one of the greatest stories, because they start out as producing wringers for the old wringer washing machines. They move, they kind of move forward in technology. They start building bicycles, roller skates, and then finally decide, hey, why don't we get in this, automobile game?
Right.
So they build automobiles from about 1900 till 1931, when they produced their last car, which was a all-aluminum prototype that we do have in the collection.
Right.
And then from there, the management sits down and says, well, this is kind of we're starting to lose money here. What are we going to do to keep the company going? And they decide that, with Prohibition being repealed, they should brew beer, and they become the Brewing Corporation of America, brewing Carling's beer. Initially,
great.
yeah, red ale, and then, of course, the famous Black Label.
So that's one of the instances where driving and drinking goes together. Not generally, though. Yeah. Okay. Tell us about Crawford, Mr. Crawford.
Mr. Crawford, he was a great man. Grew up on the East Coast. Went to college out on the East Coast, and then eventually moved to Cleveland to work for what would become Thompson Products, and then eventually TRW, and of course became president of those companies. And the great thing is, of course, he is what the collection is named after, because in 1937, when the Great Lakes Exposition was coming to an end, one of the displayers of antique vehicles there needed to get rid of his vehicles, was looking for some money, things like that. And Mr. Crawford purchased the 1910 Duryea Electa from him. And that is the beginnings of what is now the Crawford Auto Aviation Collection. And we still have that car, and it's on display.
And the things that you have are just fabulous. It's well worth a trip down. And this new exhibit gives you such great context in history. Thanks for coming here and explaining it to us today.
Glad to be here.
All right. So it turns out we're quite accomplished when it comes to automobiles and aviation. Right here, to see for yourself, take a drive to the Western Reserve Historical Society. My thanks to Derek Moore making the trip to see us.
Find out more by calling the Crawford Auto Aviation Collection at the Western Reserve Historical Society at 216-721-5722 or click to www.wrhs.org. Next, tips to cut your healthcare costs.